Jack Elam, the legendary Hollywood character actor, was known for his crooked smile, piercing eyes, and uncanny ability to play villains that audiences loved to hate. With a career spanning over 5 decades, Elam appeared in countless westerns, comedies, and dramas, often leaving a lasting impression even in brief roles. His face and presence became iconic, instantly recognizable, and synonymous with the tough, morally ambiguous characters he portrayed. But behind the scenes, Jack Elam was not just a master of on-screen menace, he was also a man with strong opinions and an unforgettable temper. Those who knew him well reveal that Elam had personal and professional grudges, sometimes holding grudges that surprised even his closest colleagues. Among the many figures in Hollywood he interacted with, there was one individual he reportedly hated more than anyone else. This wasn't casual dislike. It was a deep-seated resentment that persisted for years, shaping how he navigated his career and even his social interactions in the industry. The reasons for this intense animosity are as fascinating as they are shocking. Hollywood may have celebrated its glamour, charm, and camaraderie, but for Elam, betrayal, competition, and personal slights left lasting scars. His hatred, fueled by both professional rivalries and personal clashes, offers a rare glimpse into the darker side of Hollywood, where even stars with immense talent and charm could harbor secrets of bitterness and anger. In this story, we delve into the man Jack Elam truly despised, exploring the origins of their feud, its impact on his life and career, and the shocking confessions Elam made before his death. What emerges is a portrait of a Hollywood legend whose legacy is inseparable from the passions, grudges, and uncompromising nature that defined Jack Elam was more than just a familiar face in Hollywood. He was an institution. Born on November 13, 1920, in Miami, Arizona, Elam's striking features, most notably his misaligned eye, made him a natural fit for villainous roles in westerns and dramas. Over the course of a career spanning more than 5 decades, he carved out a niche that few actors could replicate, the charming yet menacing bad guy, the character audiences loved to fear and root against. Yet behind the iconic roles, Elam was a man of contradictions, warm, humorous, and incredibly private, but also fiercely opinionated and sometimes harboring grudges that lasted years. Elam's career coincided with a rapidly evolving Hollywood. The studio system was in decline, and television was becoming a dominant force, creating new opportunities, and new rivalries, for actors. Elam navigated these changes with a combination of professionalism and a healthy dose of wariness. He was deeply committed to his craft, meticulously studying his roles and ensuring that his performances were memorable, no matter the size of the part. Yet he also had little patience for those he perceived as pretentious. Elam's reputation as a gruff, sometimes intimidating figure masks the reality that he was also intensely thoughtful and deeply reflective. While he could portray menacing characters with ease, he had a keen sense of fairness and expected honesty from everyone around him. Those who failed to meet these expectations risked becoming the target of his lasting disapproval. This duality, charming villain on-screen, uncompromising critic off-screen, defines Elam's legacy as both an actor and a man. Jack Elam's dislike for a certain Hollywood figure didn't appear overnight, it developed over years of personal clashes, professional frustrations, and perceived betrayals. In an industry rife with competition, egos, and ambition, Elam's patience for dishonesty and opportunism was limited. While he was known for his humor and affable nature on set, those close to him knew that crossing certain lines could make him a relentless adversary. The individual he despised most had done just that, igniting a feud that would linger for decades. The origins of this animosity can be traced back to the late 1950s and early 1960s, a formative period in Elam's career. Having struggled for years to gain recognition, he was finally finding his footing in the industry. Elam had a natural gift for portraying villains, and casting directors were beginning to recognize his talent. Yet as he gained opportunities, he encountered people whose actions he interpreted as disloyal or exploitative. The person who would become the object of his greatest disdain represented everything Elam detested: manipulation, self-promotion, and a lack of respect for colleagues. Accounts from friends and co-stars suggest that the feud escalated quickly. On one hand, Elam was fiercely professional. He worked hard, respected the craft, and expected others to do the same. On the other hand, the individual in question repeatedly undermined him, either through behind-the-scenes maneuvering or direct challenges to his integrity. These actions weren't mere annoyances, they struck at Elam's sense of fairness and decency. In an industry where trust and reputation were everything, such betrayals felt deeply personal. Elam's response was characteristic. He didn't confront the person publicly, nor did he engage in petty gossip. Instead, he quietly nurtured his disapproval, letting it influence his interactions and decisions. He would avoid collaborations, refuse favors, and speak candidly about the individual only in private circles. Those who knew him well observed that his hatred wasn't fueled by rage alone, it was guided by a keen moral code. Elam judged people not only by their talent but by their ethics, loyalty, and respect for others, a combination that his adversary consistently failed to meet. Interestingly, this feud also highlighted a lesser-known aspect of Elam's personality: his emotional memory. He remembered slights, betrayals, and dishonest behavior with astonishing clarity. While some actors cowl. By the mid-1960s, the animosity had fully solidified. The Hollywood landscape was shifting, with television rising in prominence and film roles becoming increasingly competitive. For Elam, every interaction with this individual reinforced the reasons for his contempt. Yet despite his hatred, Elam remained committed to his craft, channeling his frustrations into memorable performances. His on-screen villains carried a nuance and intensity that mirrored his real-life insistence on integrity and principle. By the late 1960s and into the 1970s, Jack Elam's dislike for the individual in question had grown from a simmering frustration to a fully fledged animosity that shaped both his professional and personal life. While Elam was always known for his professionalism on set, those close to him noted that his interactions with this person were marked by subtle tension, pointed remarks, and a distinct coldness that contrasted sharply with his usual charm. The escalation began with repeated incidents where Elam felt undermined or slighted. In one notable instance, during the production of a high-profile Western, this individual reportedly took credit for decisions or ideas that were clearly Elam's contributions. While colleagues and directors may have overlooked it, Elam did not. For him, recognition wasn't about ego, it was about fairness. Being denied credit for one's work was a direct affront to his principles. Over time, these incidents accumulated, each one reinforcing the reasons for his resentment. Friends recall that he would quietly vent his frustrations, often with dry humor, but the edge in his tone was unmistakable. Another factor that intensified Elam's disdain was the perceived duplicity of this person. In an industry where alliances and relationships were crucial, Elam valued honesty above all. Reports suggest that the individual in question frequently acted in self-interest, engaging in gossip, manipulation, or subtle sabotage. These behaviors, seemingly minor to outsiders, were deeply significant to Elam. He believed in a moral code on set, a promise of loyalty, respect, and integrity, and when someone violated that code, he took it personally. Over time, the combination of public slights, professional undermining, and private duplicity cemented his animosity. Elam's response was both strategic and restrained. Unlike some actors who might confront rivals publicly, he preferred to keep his distance, avoiding direct conflict whenever possible. He carefully navigated social and professional interactions, maintaining a professional front while quietly ensuring that he did not work closely with this person again. Colleagues recall that his private comments about the individual were often laced with both humor and scathing insight, demonstrating his sharp mind and capacity for observation. These private assessments reflected not just dislike but a deep understanding of human behavior, as Elam meticulously catalogued what he saw as betrayals or flaw. This feud also had emotional consequences. Elam was reportedly haunted by a sense of injustice, often revisiting past incidents in his reflections. Friends described how he would recount stories of the conflicts in detail, emphasizing the ethical breaches and personal slights. While he could be jovial and witty in public, those who knew him well understood that certain subjects, particularly this individual, elicited a rare seriousness and intensity in Elam. The feud became an enduring part of his life, shaping his decisions and his interactions with Hollywood colleagues for decades. Yet, paradoxically, the hatred also fueled his artistry. Elam's on-screen villains, known for their subtle menace and psychological depth, mirrored the intensity and vigilance he brought to his personal dealings. His ability to portray complex characters with a mix of charm and danger was enhanced by the real-life understanding of human duplicity and conflict he experienced. The feud, while bitter, contributed to the emotional richness and authenticity that defined his performances. By the end of this period, it was clear that Jack Elam's dislike for this individual was more than a casual grievance, it was a defining element of his personal narrative. Understanding the escalation of this animosity offers insight into Elam's character, a man who valued loyalty and honesty above all, and whose wrath was reserved for those who violated these principles. As Jack Elam's career advanced into the 1980s and 1990s, his long-standing animosity toward the individual he hated reached its peak, influencing not only his professional choices but also his personal reflections. By this point, Elam had become a Hollywood institution, a revered character actor with a career spanning more than 50 years, but the feud that had started decades earlier remained a defining, if private, part of his life. Friends and collaborators noted that while Elam was warm, witty, and generous to many, discussions about this individual revealed a sharp edge, a mix of frustration, resentment, and incredulity. One of the key impacts of this hatred was on Elam's career decisions. He reportedly avoided projects where he would have to work closely with the person, even if the roles were significant. This avoidance was not out of cowardice but principle. Elam believed strongly in protecting his integrity and emotional energy. To him, sharing a set or public forum with someone he distrusted or despised would compromise both his peace of mind and his professional standards. Hollywood insiders noted that this insistence occasionally limited opportunities, but Elam refused to sacrifice his principles for the sake of convenience or prestige. The feud also shaped Elam's private reflections on Hollywood itself. In interviews and conversations with trusted friends, he revealed a deep cynicism about the industry, a world where charm, manipulation, and self-interest often outweighed talent and decency. The person he hated became, in Elam's mind, emblematic of this broader problem: individuals who prioritized ambition, recognition, and opportunism over honesty and respect. Elam's anger was therefore both personal and philosophical, reflecting his belief in the importance of ethical conduct in an industry that often lacked it. Remarkably, in the final years of his life, Elam made shocking confessions about this animosity. Friends recall that he spoke candidly about the depth of his hatred, admitting that it had persisted far longer than he might have expected. He detailed the incidents, slights, and betrayals that fueled it, revealing a combination of hurt pride, moral indignation, and personal offense that few outside his inner circle knew existed. These confessions were not born of a desire to gossip but of a reflective desire to document his perspective before it was lost to history. For fans and historians, these revelations provide a rare glimpse into the inner life of an actor who often appeared larger than life on screen but whose real-world experiences were complex and deeply human. The feud also underscores the duality of Elam's life. On one hand, he was a beloved actor capable of charm and humor; on the other, he was a principled man who could harbor profound, enduring anger when he felt wronged. This intensity informed his craft, lending authenticity to the menacing or morally ambiguous characters he portrayed. Viewers may have been captivated by his crooked smile and sly glances on screen, but behind those expressions was a man deeply committed to fairness, respect, and integrity, values that, when violated, provoked lasting resentment. In retrospect, Elam's hatred serves as a lens through which to understand not only his career but his moral compass. He navigated the treacherous waters of Hollywood with skill and charm, yet he never compromised on his core principles. The individual he despised became, in many ways, a symbol of the challenges Elam faced throughout his life, navigating a competitive, often ethically ambiguous industry while remaining true to oneself. Ultimately, Jack Elam's legacy is defined not just by his roles but by the uncompromising nature of his character. The hatred he held, the principles he defended, and the confessions he shared paint a portrait of a man who lived intensely, loved deeply, and judged fiercely. His story reminds us that even the most charismatic Hollywood icons can harbor profound personal conflicts, and that these struggles often contribute to the very artistry that makes them unforgettable.